What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we have a fun deck. This is Historic Reanimator, specifically Orzhov Historic Reanimator, leveraging a couple of key pieces. Now, originally, when I set out to build this deck, I tried to build it around Spirit Sister's Call, which is a new card from Kamigawa that is really, really interesting and really, really cool. At the end of the day, I found the deck was just more consistent without it, frankly. So it ended up not making the final cut, but that was kind of the first inspiration for this deck. But let's get into it. So what are our big threats? Every reanimation deck needs three things. You need big threats, you need ways to get those threats into the graveyard, and then you need reanimation spells or abilities that can pull them out of the graveyard. And ideally, we're doing that all within the first 3 or 4 turns to try to really take advantage of cheating a large creature into play fast. So let's take a look at our threats first. Now, you may notice a couple of things are missing. We do not have Serra's Emissary in here. If you want to put Serra's Emissary in here, you certainly can. To be completely honest, I find that card frustrating, and I find it so frustrating when I play against it that I don't want to play it myself. Maybe that's silly. Maybe I'm choosing to hamstring this deck as a direct result of that because it is incredibly powerful, but I wanted to try reanimating without her. But we do still have a big angel in Sephara Skyblade. This is a 7/7 flying lifelinker, and it gives other flying creatures indestructible. This is awesome. Sephara Skyblade is a great way when going up against an aggro strategy to or a burn strategy for that matter, to gain a ton of life very, very quickly. And as a result, get out of reach of their burn spells or their aggro threats. We also have Toxrill the Corrosive. This is primarily here to deal with, again, aggro strategies by wiping the board consistently and creating chump blockers for you. Now, we do not have blue in the mana base at all, so the Sacrifice the Slug to draw a card ability is not one that we're going to take advantage of. Again, if you wanted to make a modification to this deck so it was full-on Esper, so you could take advantage of that, that'd be fine. But to be honest, in the control matchup, Toxrill's not particularly good. So I end up sideboarding Toxrill out most of the time going up against control, which is not uncommon with this deck, I found. And the matchmaker does favor control matchups. So Toxrill ends up getting cut a lot of the time. And then finally, we have my personal favorite threat that is in Historic right now that very few people are playing, and that is Villus, Broker of Blood. It is a flying 8/8 for 8 with the ability pay 1 black, pay 2 life, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So it is removal on a card, but wait, there's more. The best part of this card is the phrase, whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. The amount of cards that Villus can draw for you is insane. In short, Villus is very similar to Griselbrand. It is kind of a fixed Griselbrand, if you will. Or, you know, like I referred to him as bargain basement Griselbrand. Like, it's the cheapest Griselbrand you can find. But guess what? Cheap Griselbrand is still pretty darn good. Griselbrand being like the best reanimation target in Legacy or, I believe, Modern. Trying to remember, is he banned in Modern? Anyway, no, he's banned in Commander. That's right. Anyway, regardless. So Villus, Broker of Blood is a huge threat that your opponent has a very difficult time dealing with. It's very, very big, very, very great. Draws you tons of cards. What's not to love? It's also removal on a stick if you need it. But you need life in order to take advantage of this, which is where Sephara comes in. So Villus and Sephara get along beautifully together. Those two just do great work when they're on the field at the same time. Now, there's one other card that is not in the deck currently, but was in a previous version of it, which was, and it turned out to be fine. And again, if you have it in your collection, you may want to consider putting it in, and that is Razzicath. So Razzicath the Foul-Blooded. I did have 2 copies of Razzicath in a previous version, but we decided to take him out because it's an 8/8 flying trampling 8 cost, so it's similar to Villus in it just stat wise, except it's got trample, which is nice. But it has the ability pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. So where Villus is going to draw you just a sheer volume of cards by playing out the game, Razzicath is going to demonically tutor a specific card into your hand at the low price of 2 life and another creature. It worked. I pulled it off a couple of times. It was fine. But to be honest, I found myself almost every time I got Razzicath on the board, I found myself wishing it was Villus. And that's why ultimately Villus, and I ended up going, I had previously had 2 Villuses and 2 Razzicaths, and I decided to just bump up to 3 Villuses. But if you wanted to put Razzicath in, not a bad include. It is a fine option. But at the end of the day, I think the deck functions just fine without him, if not a little better. All right, then as far as threats go, so we have one more threat that we can reanimate if the need arises, and that is Junji the Midnight Sky. Now, Junji is a phenomenal card. Period. End of discussion. The card is great. Like, if you don't think so, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, because the card's absolutely fantastic. It is a 5/5 flying menace for 5. That alone is not bad. Like, that's almost worth the price of admission right there. But wait, there's more. One more time. When Junji the Midnight Sky dies, choose one. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Okay, that's not bad. You can hate on their hand and force a little life loss. I've died to that a couple of times. It is not fun. Or put target non-dragon creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under control. You lose 2 life. Junji is both a big time. So there are 3 things that all Reanimator decks need. Junji is 2 of them. Junji is a threat that your opponent needs to deal with, or they lose the game. And it's a reanimation ability that can pull a very large threatening creature out of the graveyard for them, for you. So it's really cool because your opponent has the choice of, do I take this beating from a 5/5 flying menace, or, unless they have exile, which they may, to be fair, but if they don't have an exile effect in their hand, do I answer Junji in combat or with a destroy spell, and then possibly face down Sephara or Toxrill or Villus? Also, with the way that it stacks, if Junji reanimates Villus, you draw 2 cards because you lose 2 life to Junji's ability. So that's kind of fun. So it puts Villus on the battlefield, then you lose 2 life. You draw 2 cards because Villus is on the battlefield. It's just nice. It's just, the synergy is just so good. I love it. So that's Junji. Junji's absolutely great. And Junji is one of the key pieces that makes this deck special, and one of the key pieces that makes the deck work. So those are our big threats and one of our reanimation abilities. So let's take a look at our other reanimation spells and abilities and see what we have. We also have Unburial Rites in here, because Unburial Rites is one of the best ways to reanimate in Historic right now. It's just great. For 5 mana, you get to reanimate whatever the heck you want. Awesome. Or if it's in your graveyard, you can flash it back for 4, but it has to be white. So it's 3 white to flash it back, or it's 4 and a black to just cast it out of your hand. Well, we're in Orzhov, so both of those modes are just fine. So when you're in Orzhov or any variation that has those 2 colors and you're in a Reanimator build, Unburial Rites is absolutely fantastic. I love the design of this card. It's incredibly useful. And with our discard outlets to put big threats into our graveyard, we can also discard Unburial Rites so that we can hit it on turn 4 by flashing it back right away, which is pretty cool. All right, other Reanimator threats. We had Junji, as previously mentioned. We also have Priest of Fell Rites. If you are playing Historic Reanimator, craft this card if you haven't already. It's incredible. It's busted good. This card is fantastic. So it is a 2/2 for 2 with the ability tap, pay 3 life, sacrifice Priest of Fell Rites, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery, and to boot, it also has Unearth 5. Unearth means that when it's in your graveyard, you can pay 5, pull it back out. It gains haste until the end of the turn, and then it goes into exile. So it's kind of like flashback on a creature. It's kind of what it ends up being. And so what we can do is we can flash it, we can unearth it, tap it immediately, reanimate something else, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So it's a Reanimator spell that we can drop on 2 and activate on 3 if we can fill our yard in time. And it's also a 5-drop Reanimator spell if it's in our graveyard. Priest of Fell Rites is great. If you're not using it right now, I would highly recommend checking it out. We also have Vanishing Verse in here because this is just a great piece of removal. This is also a premium piece to sideboard out if need be, if you're going up against a multicolor deck. Just throwing that out there. And Vanishing Verse is actually the only card in the entire deck that doesn't fit one of the 3 criteria that I mentioned previously. But every deck should put in some kind of removal. And so in this case, it's Vanishing Verse. It's just good. It's just good against a lot of things. Hits Arcanists, it hits Dragon Rage Channelers, it hits a lot of the bigger threats in green and whatnot. So it's just a good card. Then our third thing that we need is some way to get our big threats into our graveyard quickly. We have a number of ways to do that in this deck. One is Fleeting Spirit. This is an uncommon from Crimson Vow that is reminiscent of the Seasoned Hollow Blade from Core 20. I believe it was Core 20, or it might have been 21. In any event, Fleeting Spirit has the ability, discard a card, exile it, then return to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. It is a 3-power creature that can protect itself by putting cards in our graveyard. What more could you ask for? It is exactly what we want. Because we can apply early pressure to our opponent with it Fleeting Spirits. They need to spend removal to try to get rid of Fleeting Spirit. Every time they do, we discard one of our big threats. Fleeting Spirit blinks, it comes right back. They still have to deal with it. Meanwhile, we're setting up our plan. We're setting up our Reanimator strategy, and so at the end of the day, we will reach a point where the Fleeting Spirit is expendable, But in the early game, it's invaluable because it can get in for 6 or 9 or even 12 damage before our opponent has an answer that sticks, which is great. It also has the ability, pay 1 white, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, and it gains first strike until end of turn. That is not to be discounted either. It can actually be incredibly valuable in combat, especially with smaller creatures like the Dragon Rage Channeler before it lifts off. Or like Dreadhorde Arcanists, where they're capable of doing a lot of crazy shenanigans, but at the end of the day, they have to attack in their relatively small bodies. So Fleeting Spirit can deal with those in a really cool way. Frankly, the card's great. Like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this card, and if you're in Reanimator strategies, I would highly, highly, highly recommend crafting this card if you don't already have them, because they're just good. And again, they fill the graveyard. Great. We also have Bone Shards. Can you believe this card is a common? It's incredible. Bone Shards says destroy target creature or planeswalker, but as an additional cost to cast this spell, you have to sacrifice a creature or discard a card. So what we can do is we discard Toxrill or Vilis to a Bone Shards, get rid of their strongest early threat. And so, I mean, perfect situation. Let's say now it is a sorcery, which is kind of a problem, but let's say we're on the draw. Turn 1, they drop a DRC, Dragon Rage Channeler. Turn 1, we play a Swamp, hit it with a Bone Shards, discard a Villus. Turn 2, we play a Priest of Fell Rites. Turn 3, we do whatever the heck we want. Or turn 3, or their turn 2 and turn 3, they can do whatever they want except kill our Priest of Fell Rites. Ideally she survives. But if she does, boom, we got a Villus on turn 3. Like, and that's just the nut draw. It's not that hard to pull that off. But we also have Eyetwitch. Now, I'm sure what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Eyetwitch fetches cards out of your sideboard. How is Eyetwitch one of the discard outlet, a bomb, or reanimation spell? Well, it's a discard outlet. Because one of the modes with lessons is you can choose to take a card from your hand, discard it, and draw a card. So what we can do is if we chump block with Eyetwitch early, we can actually, when it dies, we can discard a Villus to draw an additional card, and that additional card might be a Vanishing Verse or a Priest of Fell Rites or an Unburial Rites. You know, we can draw into some of our answers, and it keeps the cards churning. So that's actually quite useful. So Eyetwitch is a really cool card in this deck. Frankly, I think Eyetwitch is just crazy useful in a lot of different archetypes. I'm also using Eyetwitch in my standard ninja deck right now. Awesome. It's just great. The card is fantastic. So I would highly recommend giving that a look. So that's another one. If you're not using it, I highly recommend checking it out. So with the exception of the bombs and the Vanishing Verses, this deck is actually, well, looking at it, a lot of the key pieces are actually, well, I was about to say a lot of the key pieces are uncommon, but let's be honest, a lot of it's rare. This is not a budget brew, unfortunately, but it is what it is. As far as the lands go, we do have one Eiganjo, one Takenuma, because there's really no reason not to. They're basically free rolls, and they're additional spells, which could be useful. We also have 4 pathways, 4 concealed courtyards, because they enter the battlefield untapped if they are lands 1 through 3, so that's nice. We also have Godless Shrine and Isolated Chapel. They're just fantastic ways to make sure we get the mana bases dialed in. Now, this is a best of 3 deck. We do have a full sideboard for it. We do have a couple of lessons for Eyetwitch in Environmental Sciences, Introduction to Annihilation, and Mascot Exhibition. I find those are the 3 lessons that I dig for the most, and so I made sure to put them in my sideboard. I wanted to have access to them. Environmental Sciences is just clutch because it's additional life gain and it makes sure you hit your land drops. Intro to Annihilation can deal with any non-land permanent, so that's really handy. And the Mascot Exhibition is just a haymaker at the end of the game if you have a bunch of mana lying around and you just need something to do with it. So that's why I have those 3 in here. Necrotic Fumes could be decent, but we don't have a ton of creatures lying around to sacrifice, so I don't love that. And then there's a couple other pieces that are just kind of eh. Now, other cards in the sideboard that we have Thoughtseize. We have 3 Thoughtseizes. This is for the control matchup, and we can easily pull out Toxrill and Vanishing Verse if need be in order to fill in Thoughtseize. That's easy. We also have Go Blank in here to deal with other graveyard-centric decks. So if we're going up against Izzet Phoenix or Golgari Food, decks that are going to be taking advantage of the graveyard, we have Go Blank as a way of dealing with those without sacrificing our own graveyard. And then we also have Meathook Massacre. We have 3 Meathooks in here to deal with the aggro. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are a ton of decks, including the Golgari Food deck, the Izzet Phoenix deck, etc., that are leveraging the graveyard to really, really good effect right now in Historic. And as a result, especially in Best of 3, I found, there are a ton of Soul Guide Lanterns, Grafdigger's Cages, Soul Guide Lanterns, Grafdigger's Cages, those types of 1-mana artifact hosers out there that just completely stuff the graveyard. They are all over the place right now. And that is why you know, especially in best of 3 where people can sideboard into them. That's why we're running 3 isolates in the sideboard. If you're wondering what the heck is isolate, that's fair. This is a piece of tech that is specifically designed to shut down Grafdigger's Cage and Soul Guide Lantern. Because it is an instant for 1 white, we can cast this the same turn that the Lantern or the Cage come down, and we can exile it immediately. That's fantastic because we can do that both when our opponent sets those strategies up, or sets that strategy up, we can actually destroy it before we fill our graveyard at all. So even if they are running, say, a Soul Guide Lantern, they can crack it in response and destroy our graveyard. But at that point, early in the game, assuming it is early in the game, we'll be able to respond before we even put anything into our graveyard to begin with, or before it's too far gone. So I think Isolate is an interesting piece of tech specifically to deal with that. Now, we also have a lot of 1-drop threats that are out there. So if we're going up against the Delirium deck, for example, and Dragon Rage Channelers are running rampant as one of the primary win cons of that deck, being able to exile them feels pretty good. So that's also an option that we can slot in that kind of situation. So that's what Isolate is in the sideboard for. It's an interesting card, to be honest. It's still an experimental piece of tech, so craft at your own risk. You know, in a lot of situations, we can actually run, you know, even just something as simple as Disenchant to meet the same requirement. And that actually might be a little more versatile, but I think Isolate is interesting. So I'm going to give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. So that's the deck. This is Orzhov Reanimator featuring Junji, and I affectionately refer to it as the Rejunjimator because I am a big fan of dumb portmanteaus. And so that's what we've got here. So let's take this thing out into the ladder and see what we can do with it. All right, so we have won the coin flip. We will be playing first. We have all the lands in the world, as well as one of our threats and one of our Reanimators. We don't have any way to get it into the graveyard, but you know what? I like having a land, or a deck, or one more time. I like having a hand full of land. Makes me feel good. Even though the probability of flooding out becomes much higher when you have 4 lands in your opening hand, but I'm willing to take that risk. And the Eyetwitch is a great discard outlet. Fleeting Spirit is even better. We're going to be just fine, everybody. And our opponent is rocking red, but they have not put anything on the board just yet. So they might have some hasters, they might have some burn. Anger of the Gods here would actually hurt quite badly, but Fleeting Spirit would survive, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. The reason that I say Anger of the Gods specifically would be especially rough is because it exiles. Urza's Rage deals 3 times target creature. Damage can't be prevented. That's kind of annoying, but alright. We were going to discard Sephara anyway, so poof, there she goes. Fleeting Spirit's back again. Now it's our turn. Godless Shrine can enter tapped because we don't have a 4-drop anyway, and we get to just swing with the team. So here's what I was talking about being able to apply early pressure before we start reanimating anything. That's exactly what we're doing here by hitting for 4 every single turn with Fleeting Spirit and the Eyetwitch. Feels good. Feels real good. And it looks like our opponent might be on mono red. Urza's Rage is an interesting one. Yeah, so the creature doesn't go into exile, but the damage can't be prevented. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think that card's particularly good. Maybe decent in against control because it can't be countered. Tectonic Giant. That card's interesting. All right. Vanishing Verse. They do have an opportunity to blast me for 2 here, which doesn't feel great, but is what it is. Ow, my face. But we are going to get rid of their 4-drop for 2, so that feels good. Feels real good. Another twitchy eyes. Not mad at that. We're going to attack first. Baboosh. Junji. Alright, so Junji's 11 online. We have the Eyetwitch in hand, so we can discard that to the Fleeting Spirit if we need to. If they do a board wipe here, like a burn down the house or something like that to get rid of Junji, we're going to just get Sephara back. So that feels pretty good. And this is game 1 of 3 that we're in right now. So we've got clear board presence. Our opponent's not really putting up much of a fight at the moment. I want to see. So the Tectonic Giant is pretty darn cool. Whenever it attacks or becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, choose one. It deals 3 damage to each opponent, or you exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So it impulsively draws 1 of 2 cards, or it just smacks your, bolts your opponent's face. Sarkin Fireblood. I'm actually not familiar with this card. It is, you may discard a card if you do draw a card, add 2 mana, combination of colors, spend this. Okay. They're going to scoop it up. Apparently they just didn't have an answer. So let's see. Do they move on to game 2? I'm actually just going to run it out as is. We could put Thoughtseize in here, but I don't think we need to. All right, so they're going to get to play first. Let's see what happens. Priest of Fell Rites, Vanishing Verse, and Unburial Rites. We don't have a threat or a discard outlet, so I may rue the day I kept this, but we're going to try it. Vanishing Verse on 2 could be pretty darn powerful. Priest of Fell Rites is also probably not going to survive if we play her out right away. Mull down to 6. Akum Hellhound. Okay, all right. Okay, man. Bone Shards is actually pretty tasty here, being able to discard... We actually could discard Unburial Rites to Bone Shards just to get rid of the Hellhound for right now. Oh, they were mana screwed last game. They aren't mono red at all. They're Rakdos. That explains it. All right. That explains quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Now, I'm playing out the Priest of Fell Rites here because if we draw into a threat, if we draw into a Toxrill or a Villus, we're going to be able to Bone Shards it and then immediately reanimate it with the Priest. That's pretty rad. I definitely want to take advantage of that if we hit it. Assuming Priest survives, which she does not. Alas. And Bone Crusher Giant is now on an adventure. Fleeting Spirit, that'll do, actually. That's a pretty good card. Oh, I should have played the Courtyard there because it comes into play untapped this turn, but not next turn. That was a punt. Feel free to punt me on that, everybody. Sorry, I do a lot of action over on Twitch, twitch.tv/shamhawks42. And that's actually one of the commands. When I make a mistake, you can use !punt in the chat, and it actually counts how many times I punt during the stream. The number can be kind of embarrassingly high sometimes, I'll be honest. But it is what it is. It's a lot of fun. Force 1 Paladin. All right, all right. All right, so now their aggro plan is live and online. It just is what it is. We still have the Bone Shards in hand, so I am going to go ahead and soak up one of the Hellhounds here. Not super jazzed about that. Eiganjo, Seat of the Empire. Excellent. That's actually a really good hit. It's a really good hit for us. All right, so what I should probably do here is Bone Shards the Paladin, because Eiganjo is an ability that can... oh, never mind. We need 3 in order to channel Eiganjo. I thought it was 2. I was thinking Besaijo. Besaijo is 2. All right, so if we Bone Shards, we need to follow it up with a Vanishing Verse. And accept that Eiganjo's not going off this turn. But if we spend the Bone Shards here, we don't have access to it for later. So you know what? I think I just hold. We hold Eiganjo back to deal with the Bone Crusher Giant because it is an activated ability that targets. It is not a spell. And as a result, that little clapback ability the Bone Crusher has. Goldspan, never mind. That's our target. Poof, get that gone. And we're in Historic, so it's 3 balanced ones, so they don't get a treasure. It's amazing how my priorities shifted so drastically there. Like, wasn't even close. Come on. Where are our big threats? 'Cause I'm not seeing them. All right, we're going to Bone Shards the Paladin, discarding it on Unburial Rites. Doink. Poof. Get it gone. And we're going to hold Eiganjo back to deal with the Bone Crusher Giant. So they probably, if they hit a land here, they think they have won the game, but they have not. They attack. We Eiganjo blast the Bone Crusher because it's an ability. We don't get smacked. Boosh. All right, and then we Unburial Rites our Fleeting Spirit, I guess, because we need something. They have the land. Choose to attack. We're at 3. We just gotta take it. But in this case, I will accept the trade. We don't have the white mana to... We don't have the mana to activate the First Strike ability on the Fleeting Spirit, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. It'll land Villus. There you are. Now, they have some hasty creatures, so that attack is kind of greedy. Terror of the Peaks. That is very Bone Shardsable. Wait a minute. No, they cost an additional 3. So, ooh, ow, pain, suck. If I try to Bone Shards that, we just die. That's unfortunate. Yeah, Terror of the Peaks turns out in this situation pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. But if we don't kill it, we just attacks and yeah, we're just dead. We can't win this. So I'm gonna go out on our own terms. I'm gonna target that. I'm gonna discard Villus, and we're gonna go down to 0. All right, going out on my terms. Dang it! I decide how I die. Thank you. All right, let's bring Meathook into the mix. Thoughtseize as well is not bad. Vanishing Verse, there are plenty of targets for that, so I'm cool with it. I'm actually gonna pull the Unburial Rites out. I think Toxie's still pretty solid. Actually, we can go down to 2 Meathooks. Look down to 2 Vanishing Verse. So I'm gonna go after their hand. I'm gonna start going after their hand this game. So we're adding some more controlling elements to the deck now. Let's see if that makes a difference. Going on the play. Ooh, Thoughtseize on 1. I'm gonna be bad. And what I'm looking for here is whatever card is going to represent the most damage over the course of the game. So the Orb of Dragonkind, Quakebringer, or Akoum Hellhound. Opponents can't gain life. Quakebringer's a problem. Quakebringer's a big problem, but it also is valuable within their graveyard. But you know what? They're going to be able to foretell it and get it down as early as turn 4. So the Akoum Hellhound is going to be able to hit us for a lot here. Oh, they didn't play the... They didn't play out a mountain to get the Hellhound online. Interesting. Okay. If I were them, I would have gone mountain into Hellhound. And then Orb of Dragonkind on this turn. But... Toxie! Yeah! Happy to see you. What up, Tox? Bam! To the face. And then we are going to... Bone Shards that Akoum Hellhound, discarding a Slug Horror. Therefore, Junji can reanimate it. Love it. You'll love to see it. All right. Orb of Dragonkind, sure, fine, whatever. They can crack it here immediately, or they can sit on it. Because they are running Goldspans, they are running Terror of the Peaks. So there's some good stuff there. All right, Eyetwitch, not great. If they do manage to kill the Eyetwitch, it does give us Environmental Sciences, which would be nice. In the meantime, Fleeting Spirit beats. That's what we're on. So we are on the beatdown plan. Let's go. Notably, too, with the Isolated Chapel, we do not have a Plains or a Swamp because we have a Pathway and the Concealed Courtyard. So we have the Fast Land, a Pathway, and a Check Land. So if we draw into another Check Land, it will come into play tapped, unfortunately. So we're now going to discard Sephara, so the Fleeting Spirit will blink out of existence. The cool thing about the Fleeting Spirit blinking here is that the Bone Crusher Giant is going to fizzle and go to the graveyard. Because the spell does not resolve, it does not go to the Adventure Zone, which is really handy. So Fleeting Spirit's a great card. Everybody should be running it. Godless Shrine, that is a Swamp and a Plains. So hooray. Fleeting Spirit Eyetwitch beats. Continues. All right. They're going to light up the night to kill the Eyetwitch, which is fine by me. Because as previously stated, that means we can go get an Environmental Sciences. They're going to crack the Orb of Dragonkind. All right, cool, cool, cool. So if we draw into a land, we get to play Junji. If we don't draw into a land... we get to play Environmental Sciences, gain a little bit of life, get back up to 20. Yeah, we can Environmental Sciences, go grab a Swamp or a Plains, doesn't really matter. At this point, our mana base is, we have 3 duels, so we're doing just fine, and we can Thoughtseize them to get rid of that Terror of the Star Mounts, or in the Inferno of Star Mounts. And we have 7 cards of Graveyard, so Fleeting Spirit can get first strike if need be, which is pretty nice. So at this point, they are down to just lands. And we're going to have Junji hitting the field next turn. This has been a violent game. Those Thoughtseizes have been very potent. And they're going to go face this time because they want to keep that Bone Crusher Giant around. Can't blame them. Cannot blame them. And Isolated Chapel, because we now have a Swamp and a Plains in play. That comes into play untapped, which is nice. That way we can activate the Fleeting Spirit's first strike ability and cast Junji in the same turn. So that's nice. Now, we are out of cards, so if they wanted to kill the Fleeting Spirit here, they could. Bone Crusher Giant counting as a giant, so the Quakebringer in the graveyard gets an opportunity to proc. Nothing wrong with that. Downraiser Tyrant. TRT. They're going after the Godless Shrine, sure. They don't have any good attacks here, and we have lethal on the crackback. Yeah, we got him. Because Junji has Menace, which is pretty great. I'll just sacrifice that land because we just don't need it anymore. Especially when we top deck another land. Yeah, Junji attacks and we win. Yep, that's simple. So there we go. That was game one, or match one, I should say. And with that, we are back almost in the top 1,200 ranked, which is pretty rad. Happy to see that. So, onward to the next game. So we are on the play here. We have Priest of Fell Rites, Eyetwitch, and Vanishing Verse. Let's go. We're going up against Mistman, number 54. Very cool. Let's see what we can do here. All right. So let's see. We can shock in the Godless Shrine to play the Eyetwitch. I don't think I want to do that. Instead, I'm just going to throw the Pathway to play the Eyetwitch. Let me throw the other Pathway down to play out the Priest of Fell Rites. And hope we draw into something good. Oh, we got Azorius. We got Azorius. All right, going to stick the Priest while we can. Get while the getting's good, as it were. I have a feeling we got some control going on here. We might be looking at a board wipe pretty early on. So we need to get some of our threats. Like, we need to get one of our threats, preferably Villus or Sephara, into our hand fast. I don't know that Toxrill is going to be completely beneficial in this matchup. Probably going to get sideboarded out. We'll see. Vanishing Verse also might be sideboarded out. So the fact that we're sitting on two of them in game one, not ideal. March of Otherworldly Light being able to exile the Priest of Fell Rites, and they did exile a card in their hand to do that. Can't blame them. That was just a good move. You got to get rid of that thing while you can. That was a good move. All right, so the Eyetwitch beats continue, and we're sitting on two Vanishing Verses. So if they try to cast out, actually, what could they cast here? I mean, they're probably trying to ramp up to like a Teferi, and Vanishing Verse can't touch that. So we're gonna throw the Shrine, and the Eyetwitch beats continue. Eyetwitch beatdown. Let's go. It's what I got, so it's what I'm gonna do. And cycle the Irrigated Farmland, and draw into another card. All right. Actually, what did they exile with the March of Otherworldly Light? Was that another March? Yeah, they exiled the March of Otherworldly Light for another Worldly Light. Hey, rest in peace. That is a fine target for a Vanishing Verse. Poof. Get that gone. And main deck rest in peace actually makes a lot of sense, again, in the current meta, because so much stuff relies on the graveyard. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a Eiganjo here. Double Eyetwitches. Twitchy beats. Let's go. And we have yet another Vanishing Verse up, in case of another Rest in Peace, because apparently that is a problem we need to be aware of. Godless Shrine, sure. All the mana in the world, which means if these Eyetwitch die, we can go grab a Mascot Expedition and feel pretty good about it. Also, mad props, Mistman, for playing quickly. I appreciate that. Commit. All right. So that Eyetwitch is off the field. Fair enough. And I mean, the Eyetwitches alone have represented 6 damage, so that's pretty brutal. All right, Narset is going to do her thing. We're going to vanish Narset. Not that we're going to be drawing a ton of cards, but Narset providing card advantage while also stymieing our ability to draw. I don't like that. I just don't like Narset. So she has gots to go. We got another Pathway here. Another Pathway. All right, now we can definitely hit the Mascot Exhibition. They're going to go grab a Shark Typhoon, sure. And they're probably going to hardcast that Shark Typhoon, because at this point, why not? They choose not to. All right, cool. They're going to counter my Eyetwitch? No, they are not. All right, cool. Eyetwitch coming in. They could cycle the Shark Typhoon here. Now, we have done 10 damage with nothing but Eyetwitches. I got to be honest. I kind of love that. All right, so they cycle the Shark Typhoon for a 5/5 Flying Shark. Fair enough. Flying Shark. Flying Shark. All right. I'm going to chip in here. And they're just going to take it. Priest of Fell Rites. Does that resolve? We don't have any threats in the graveyard, so it's just a 2/2 body at this point. Memory Deluge, great card. But every 2/2 body helps at this point. Because we are trying to do the beatdown, and they are digging for a board wipe, maybe? Oh, Divine Purge. I hate that card. I hate that card so much. But here we are. Another land. Could we flood out harder? All right, let's get these twitchy eyes back in the mix. Do another memory deluge, sure. Did I mention I hate that card? Because I do. I despise that card with every fiber of my being. Like, whoever designed Divine Purge, like, is a jerk. I don't like them as a person. I'm kidding, but, like, I dislike the card very much. Wandering Emperor, Divine Purge and Wandering Emperor is cool tech. I gotta give Mistman credit for that. The fact that they come into play tapped and then the Wandering Emperor can just whack them like that. And we're drawing all of the land. Could we draw any more land? I question if it's possible. I don't think so, frankly. All right, we are going to Bone Shards, sack a critter, get rid of Wandering Emperor, get rid of Eyetwitch. Because that Eyetwitch being so ridiculously expensive is not really in our best interest anymore at this point. They're going to Memory Deluge yet again. Yeah, we are going to modify this deck very significantly after Sideboard. We're going to be doing a lot of changes. Mascot Exhibition. We're going to cast it straight into a counterspell, but we're going to cast it. And hardcast Shark Typhoon into a Tef. Oh, we're so dead. There's 100%. There is a 100% chance that this game is lost. And seriously, we are drawing nothing but land. I don't know when the last non-land card was that we drew. Dovin's Veto. Yeah, let's move on to game 2. Well, that sucked, but it is what it is. They're playing a good game. Go Blank Thoughtseize. Isolate is coming in. Bone Shards. There are Planeswalkers, but I'm going to pull the Bone Shards out. I'm going to let Toxie go, because Toxrill isn't really doing anything for us here. And I'm actually going to lose 3 Unburial Rites. We are going to go hard control. Let's see if we can make this work. We are going to attack their hand with Reckless Abandon and hope for the best. Because if we can get a turn 1 Thoughtseize, we can do a lot of stuff with that. All right. Well, hey, turn 1 Thoughtseize, and we have Isolate back in case they're running Cage. Show me your secrets. What you got? March of Otherworldly Light, exclude, counter target creature spell, draw a card. That's kind of irrelevant. March of Otherworldly Light, Farewell is a problem, as is Narset. I'm going to get rid of one of the marches. I mean, taking 4 damage on turn 1 doesn't feel great, for the record. Don't love it, but it is what it is. Isolated Chapel, Fleeting Spirit. Let's go. And they could dump Farewell to use the March of Otherworldly Light and the Fleeting Spirit. If they're going to do that, they're probably going to do it on our turn. That way we don't get an attack with it. Still could. No, they're going to take the 3. Okay, cool. Isolate might be a dead card in our hand at this point. I was assuming there's going to be a Graph Diggers or Soul Guide Lantern, and we haven't seen one yet. So maybe that was me getting too much in my own head, especially knowing that they're running Rest in Peace. Because they might have just had additional copies of Rest in Peace in the sideboard. So it could just be the Rest in Peace show, which would be understandable. All right, Fleeting Spirit is doing a better job than the Eyetwitch's last game of just pummeling, which is good. I mean, 3 power is not to be messed with. So they could try to March of Otherworldly like the Fleeting Spirit, in which case we just dump Sephara. We either dump Sephara or Isolate, actually. I think Isolate might be the better answer. Because, well, no, we'll dump Sephara because at the end of the day, she needs to be in the graveyard. Tef, Time Raveler, all right. That's a card. Do they try to down 3? Nope, they don't. They don't even bother. I can't blame them there. Yeah, and unfortunately, Vanishing Verse can't touch Tef, which is mildly problematic, except for the mildly part. And Teferi does not actually have an ult that I'm worried about, so you know what? It being at 6 loyalty and being at 3 loyalty, kind of the same thing. So instead, I'm just going to go face. Let's go face! Alright. There's Narset, Le Parter Avers. You know what? She's actually not providing that big of a threat at this point anyway. Another March, okay. Junji, buddy, let's go. You and me, bud. Fleeting Spirit continuing to go face. Divine Purge. I'm going to go ahead and discard Sephara here so that the Fleeting Spirit is not present when the Divine Purge resolves. Then we're casting out Junji. And we still have Vanishing Verse up. With the Fleeting Spirit, we are now representing lethal. So they do have Farewell in hand. So they're probably just going to have to jam Farewell. Or bounce Junji, that works too. Man, Teferi Time Raveler's a hell of a card. Vilis, the Broker of Blood. Letting the Planeswalkers do their thing. Fleeting Spirit's going to do his thing. Cycling the Shark. Vanishing Verse on the Shark. Let's go! Exile that token. Got a counterspell there, Home Slice? I'm going to discard Isolate here because I really don't think we're going to have a chance to use it. Junji, they have an opportunity to bounce it with Tef or hit it with the Farewell. We're 1 mana shy of being able to hardcast Villus, so if they do... they can actually now Farewell at instant speed, which is pretty brutal. Which is probably exactly what they are about to do. There it is. Discarding Villus, and unfortunately, because Farewell exiles, we do not get the death trigger on Junji. Truly unfortunate, but it is what it is. Get those twitchy eyes. And Fleeting Spirit is back. We're trying to win this game off the back of Fleeting Spirit, but now we are out of cards. So now the Otherworldly Light can hit the Fleeting Spirit. I probably should have held the Eyetwitch. Divine Purge, boo. That's all I have to say about that. Just boo. Alright. This time I'm learning my lesson. Oh, they're going to exclude the Fleeting Spirit, sure. Fleeting Spirit really busted them up, though. I just want the record to show that we roughed them up pretty hard. I don't think we win this game, unfortunately. But, I mean, we're going up against number 54. I mean, they're a fellow content creator, if I'm not mistaken. So they're just, I mean, clearly they know what they're doing. Yeah, it's very Hero of Dominaria. This is actually probably scoop time. Yeah, they're down to 32 cards in the library. We're down to 43, and we draw lands. Now, I did have an opportunity earlier on to attack the Planeswalkers, get the Teferi Time Raveler, like, busted up, or, you know, to deal some damage so that it would be less effective. And I chose not to. I chose to go face because I thought I could close the game out. Turns out I couldn't. So here we are. Main phase Memory Deluge. Still keeping 2 mana up. Teferi, yeah, now rest in peace. The graveyard's gone. Which is really unfortunate because we had some juice in there, as it were. They're going to shock in the Hallowed Fountain. Tef Hero Dominaria is going to do its thing. And we're going to draw a land here, and I'm going to be sad. Now, this is a situation where... I hate it when I'm right. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and accept defeat here, because it's gonna take them another 5 minutes or so to beat us, but they will beat us. So let's just go ahead and call it, because they completely eliminated all of our resources. So it's unfortunate. We're still in the numbers. It's all good. Let's move on to the next match. So here we are, match 3. Let's do this thing. I see the Vanishing Verses, the Fleeting Spirits. Takenuma's not bad. I don't love keeping 2-landers in general, but a Fleeting Spirit, discarding Villus, and there we go. Never didn't have it. All right, we got the land, so we are going to be just fine, everybody. Just fine. Ooh, Toxie, what up, dog? If you're not a dog, you're a slug. What up, slug? And Fleeting Spirit resolves. That's nice. Going up against Rakdos. They probably have removal on board anyway, so that's okay. Isolated Chapel, unfortunately, cannot enter untapped at this point, so it's just going to come in because we have a bunch of non-basic, non-typed lands. They're going to try to K-command here. The Fleeting Spirit's going to survive. We're going to discard Toxie to keep the Fleeting Spirit around, but then we're going to discard Villus to satisfy the Kolaghan's command. That could have been a lot worse, especially with the Junji's down. Townraiser Tyrant. Now we have plenty of non-basic lands for them to choose from, but we can Vanishing Verse the Townraiser Tyrant. Sure, fine, whatever. That is what it is. So we are going to go ahead and take 2 here because we are going to decline that. Ow, my face. All right, it is what it is. What you gonna do? Gonna cry about it. Wah. All right, Fleeting Spirit beats. Let's go. Now we have the double Junji in hand. If we top deck a land or our Eyetwitch dies and we're able to get a Handy's Expertise, how creatures get -3/-3, make cast spells. Wow. Could have saved the Fleeting Spirit, and they're going to Thoughtseize here? Oh, okay, Thoughtseize off the... Alright. They can get rid of the Environmental Sciences or one of our Junjis. Science is actually probably the right thing to remove here. That was a clever move. You Handy's Expertise into a Thoughtseize is pretty brutal. Yep, so they're... Okay, Goldspan. Good thing we got this. Poof, goes the Goldspan. Chapel, I'm going to decline that one more time. We're going to take one more. All right, cool. And now we can start... We can sack the Isolated Chapel because we got that swamp. Goldspan Dragon, attack into that Junji. Do it. All right, now we're going to sack it. Hey, Isolated Chapel. Glad to see you back. And this is a race we can win, so we are going to initiate it. Now, that said, the Goldspan Dragon does have an opportunity to ramp them. They also have the Den of the Bugbear in their mana base, so that might pay... Laughless? What? That's a card I haven't seen in a hot minute. And his battlefield under control, create a 5/5. Wow, okay, that's potentially problematic for us. I might have to keep Junji back to block next turn. Actually, I think I will need to keep Junji back to block next turn. Eiganjo, Seat of the Empire. Good stuff. Good stuff. So Junji can attack. Eiganjo can kill the Goldspan Dragon. I think we need to keep it back to block. So Eiganjo's going to kill the Goldspan Dragon regardless. If they attack with Laughless as well, Junji can take it to... And they probably will. Unfortunately for us, that dragon does not have haste. My goodness, that got out of hand fast. They chose not to attack. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Trying to go for the Alpha Strike to end the game. I can appreciate that. Oh, and they have another Goldspan in hand. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's see what we can do here. Kill one of the Goldies. Junji steps in front of the Inferno. How much damage are we taking here? Probably too much. Yeah, 15. That is in fact too much. Oh, and then Lathis can even buff all the other dragons. Yeah. If you want to burn your clock out, just dirtling with stuff, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you already had it. You had it a million times over. That was just excessive, but it's fine. I understand wanting to play with your toys when they work. I get that. I get that. I've been there. We all have, I think. All right, so knowing that they're running mono red dragons, Vanishing Verse isn't going anywhere. Meathook Massacre is also not going anywhere. Go Blank could be interesting. Let's get the Thoughtseize up in here. Bone Shards also pretty great. think Fleeting Spirit might actually... Well, no, because it is our discard outlet. Let's go ahead and go down by some Unburial Rites. Sephara would be great, so I don't want that going anywhere. Toxrill is also potentially powerful in this matchup, so I like that. Let's add 2 Thoughtseize into the mix. We don't need a ton of hand hay, but a little bit might go a long way. I'm actually kind of impressed. Lathos was a card I did not expect to see coming. I didn't see it coming, period. Yeah, we can work with this. It's not amazing. Concealed Courtyard into a Thoughtseize, though, can do a lot, so let's go. Fearsome Whelp, Town Razor Tyrant. Let's get rid of the Town Razor Tyrant, because they can... Making the other Fearsome Whelps cheaper is kind of irrelevant. It just doesn't do anything for him. Let's go ahead and throw a Priest here. And they're going to attack. All right, they're going to initiate the race. Let's go. Takenuma Abandoned Mire does cost 4, unfortunately, but we can activate it next turn if we don't draw in any gas. Another Fearsome Whelp, sure, fine, whatever. Ding, ding. Yep, the race is on. The race is on. Okay. Actually, no attacks here, because I want to do this. I probably should have done this pre-combat, but you know what? That's okay. Sephara, let's go! I would like to return the Priest of Felrites to my hand and activate this Priest of Felrites to pull up Sephara. 7/7 lifelink Flying Angel, let's go! Alright, that felt pretty good, not gonna lie. So if they attack into that, we start gaining life. Leyline of the Void. Alright, so now stuff can't enter the graveyard. Stuff can come out of the graveyard, but it can't go in. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. Okay. That sucks. Like, no doubt. I mean, these Unburial Rites are now just dead draws. Which does truly suck. So hopefully Sephara can take this home. At Sushi, the Blazing Sky. For all your sushi needs, don't forget to tweet at Sushi. Junji, the Midnight Sky. Phenomenal card. Let's go. I will see your Epic Dragon, and I will raise you my Epic Dragon. They're going to block with At Sushi, the Blazing Sky, naturally. They're probably going to compulsively draw 2 cards. Yeah. Pyre of Heroes and a Dragon's Fire. Interesting. Very interesting. So Dragon's Fire can kill the Priest. Junji's actually indestructible right now because of Sephara, which is pretty cool. I like that. I like that interaction. Terror of the Peaks, what up, dog? All right, pressure's on. Boom, take it to the face, and we gain a bunch of life. Feels good, not gonna lie. Feels real good. Pyre of Heroes can sack the Terror of the Peaks to go grab a 6-drop, potentially Lathlis, or the Inferno of Star Mounts. They can also sacrifice the Whelp to go grab a 3-drop. I don't know if they're running any 3-drop dragons. I'm thinking I don't even know what a good 3-drop dragon would be. Nadar maybe, but they're not in those colors, so probably not. There's Lathlis. Alright, so we have a trick up our sleeve here, which is pretty cool. When you unearth a creature, it gains haste. So that means that's an additional 2 damage they need to account for on the attack. Because with Priest of Felrites, you usually unearth it to reanimate something. You can also just attack with it. But Junji has Menace. Yeah, this is lethal. Got him. Awesome. I think we run it out. I think we just run this back. So the Leyline of the Void was definitely a problem. That was an interesting piece of tech by our opponent. Fortunately for us, we were able to do the Reanimator thing before the Leyline hit the field. Now, if they have Leyline in the opening hand, woof, we are in trouble. But we got Junji's, baby. Junji's pretty great. Leyline in the opening hand. I need to keep my mouth shut. All right. Well, Vanishing Verse can deal with that. Actually, I probably should have pulled in. Yeah. I need to throw the Concealed Courtyard next turn so nobody punts me. Fearsome Whelp, sure, fine, whatever. We have plenty of land, so I am actually going to Bone Shards this. Let the pathway go. Poof, get out of here. Could have discarded Unburial Rites because our graveyard is effectively off limits at this point. Town Raiser Tyrant, sure. Going after the Godless Shrine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to decline that because we need to get a Junji online. Hey, Junji, what up, dog? Happy to see you. Except you're not dog, you're dragon. What up, drag? Gun? Dragon? Alright. Decline that. Sure, fine, whatever. Junji! The Midnight Sky. So I can block the Town Raiser Tyrant. I can also get in for 5 damage here. The Peaks is kind of annoying. Don't like that. I will sacrifice it this time. I could have kept it. Eiganjo! Pretty happy to see that, actually. Now, we have a couple of choices. We can throw it. Actually, let's attack with Junji and see what happens first. Choose to take it to the face. All right, cool. I'm actually going to throw Eiganjo here so that we can cast out another Junji. Oh, but we don't get the death trigger. Dang it. So that just kind of gave Junji vigilance. Yeah, with Leyline of the Void now, we don't get any death triggers. That's a real problem. That's a real problem. Yeah, Terror of the Peak going face. Yeah, they attack with all we're dead. We can block 5 of it, but it doesn't matter. Dang, yo. All right, that was an unfortunate setup. The Leyline of the Void really shut us down, but it's all good. These were fun games. So, Leyline of the Void, a piece of tech I had not actually teched for. That might be worth modifying the sideboard a little bit to get answers to that in there. Anyway, this has been fun. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this one, please don't hesitate to check out another video on the web or on my channel. It means the world. And please drop a like and a subscribe. They make a huge difference. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.